know that the census is due this year on April 1st? And guess what? This time we can finally count as Caribbean. This year, all you have to do is 1. Check the race box, and 2. Write in your country of birth or ancestry. You can answer by the paper form, online, or by phone. Everybody counts in Census 2020. So count as Caribbean. Yes, we count.
Hey, Ride Along World, welcome to the ride. Welcome to Monday on the ride. Make sure my microphone is sounding good. How you guys doing? Welcome to the ride. Welcome to Monday. And I don't have to remind you guys how we do it, right? The keyword is I share. All right. The keyword is I share. So as you're coming, go ahead and just say I share. Share up the program. Let me do my thing over here. Start a watch party. And say I share. Yes. Just see who we have there so far. Patrice, how you doing? Big up yourself. Hope you're doing well. Lydia Joseph, good evening to you. Lydia Joseph. Guys, remember, the keyword is I share. Once you say I share, we know that you share the program, all right? I will put you up on the screen. Big up yourself. Golden Essence, big up yourself. How you doing? Big up yourself. Thank you so much for sharing. They say sharing is caring. Let me share it over here as well on the group. I share Sandra Lewis. Sandra, thank you so much for sharing. How you doing? Big up yourself, Sandra Lewis. Big up Jackie Chaitan. Big up. How you doing, Jackie? We appreciate you all the time. Good afternoon to you. Good evening to you. Spice Buffy. Big up yourself. Thank you for sharing. Sharing is caring. Sandra Lewis, we appreciate you all so much. Thank you, Sandra. Guys, start a watch party as well and put the program on your page. Because let me tell you, I'll tell you guys straight. For the past week, right? The page had taken a major hit, right? I was unable to post more than one post per day. That's the first problem that I had. Second thing is Facebook blocked most of the notification from going out. Later, we found out that it was a person or a group of people that was instigating to bring down this page, right? And this is the honest to God truth. There has been a group of people that is no good. They don't like to see progress, as plain as I'm telling you. And they have been instigating, they have been propagating, they have been putting their heads together to try to bring down this page. Hence the reason why a lot of you have not been getting notification. Now, these people know and understand pretty well that, especially in this COVID time, that Facebook have limited staffing, so they take a much longer time to get back to you. So we've been writing Facebook for the past 3 weeks or so to try to find out what is the problem. Why are we not getting notification? Why can I not post? And it just has been going like this for the past couple of weeks. So if you have not been getting notification from Ride Along Live, it wasn't our fault. We have nothing to do with it. It was just some people out there that don't like to see progress. All right. So that's why when we say go ahead and share the program, put it out there, let your friends see, so that we'll show these people that they can't stop the progress. No matter what, they can't stop the progress. Right. So we need you guys to do this for me right now. Yeah, we're talking about people who just don't like to see progress. And sometimes it's your own black people. It's your own black people, right? That are like snake in the grass. And that's exactly what they are. They're like snake in the grass. They hate to see another person at least progress. That's as plain and simple what it is. So that is why for the past couple of weeks, a lot of you were not getting notification. That is why for the past couple of weeks, you didn't see the program. Even I wasn't getting notification for a point. I was only able to post one post per day, and that's how it's been for the past couple of weeks. Again, so I think we're back up like about 50-60%. Hopefully, Facebook will resolve its issues by itself over a period of time. But let's see. All right. Again, it's not our problem. People could go and say your program is abusive. They could say whatever they want. If 10, 15, 20 people go ahead and report a particular program, Facebook is going to think, well, it's genuine. And that's what happened in this particular case. When all that we do is sit here and try to bring programming to you guys. So I really had to tell you this from the beginning. I really had to tell you what was going on, so you will have an understanding of the problem that we've been having over this past couple of weeks, right? All right. With that being said, I want to thank everyone. I want to thank everyone that frequent our program every single day. For you guys who share the program, for you guys who ensure that your friends get to see the program, I really appreciate you. And we work really hard behind the scenes. Myself, Deanne Fraser, Lynn, and everybody has worked really hard behind the scenes to bring this program into you. All right. And is within that same backdrop, I want to introduce two of my friends. Right. One is a pastor that I look up to, a man that he's not scared to be controversial. He's very inspirational and not afraid to be controversial. I want everybody to say hi to my friend, my pastor, my colleague, Mr. Pastor Peter Bonady. You see him on the program. He comes in at 7:30 a.m. in the morning. Pastor, just wait for them. Just wait for them. That's Pastor Peter Bonady right here, guys. Thank you so much, Pastor Bonady. And next we have another good friend of mine. You guys probably remember her when we was doing the Botham Jean case from Texas. I'd like to welcome back on our program Tiffany Billion. Tiffany, welcome to the Ride. How you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
All right. Always good to have you guys on the program. Always great to have you guys on the program. So let's start with Tiffany. Tiffany, how you been? Tell us a little bit about, where you at right now and how you've been for this past few months that we haven't spoken to you.
Well, I definitely have not stopped with the activism here in the nationally and Dallas, Texas. So definitely policy, speaking with city council members, and attempting to get subpoena power on the Dallas City Council for the Citizens Review Board, and really still addressing issues of police brutality and helping regular civilians, regular people understand the process of requesting the Freedom of Information Act request when they have questions or when they have complaints against police officers here in Dallas, Texas, and nationwide. So definitely been busy.
Yeah, always staying busy. And we thank you for coming on. Dr. Peter Bonady, I would like to thank you again, sir. I know you're a very busy man, but you always answer that phone when we call. Thanks for coming on and sharing your thoughts with us, and welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I congratulate you on the work that you are doing. And I trust that Facebook would somehow get the act together, because this is part of our voice to the community. And again, and God bless you and make this program a massive success.
Yeah. Well, Pastor, as I said earlier from the top, it's just some people in our community. I think some of the problem has to do with a lot of us. Sometimes we are destructive to our own self. We shoot ourselves in the foot and we wonder why we're limping. And just some people in our community. But that's not the topic for today. I want to talk about what we are going through right now. George Floyd, Minneapolis police, we all saw the video, the horrific scene. It shook the world. I want to get you guys' view. Let's start with Tiffany. I want to get your view, Tiffany, on your initial reaction after seeing that George Floyd tape.
So my initial reaction was not even total shock. My initial reaction was, to hear a grown man call out for his mother. It woke something up in me, and it was very, very shocking to see the brutality on film. And it's not as if I had not seen it before, but it just felt as if the whole world was watching, the entire world, and the entire world saw it. Mm-hmm. And to see one of our brothers beg for his life, and literally his life being, basically he was being told that his life didn't matter, was very heartbreaking for me. But more than anything, it made me angry, right? Because here you have an officer who has his knee on the neck of a man who has a right to a jury no matter what he's accused of. And so, we have an officer who played judge and jury, and that was very upsetting for me. I was very angry, and I of course believe anybody's anger in this particular situation is completely justified.
Yeah, yeah. And Pastor Banadi, you being a spiritual person and you being a human being, what was your initial reaction after you saw those heroic video? That heroic video.
Junior, this would take me maybe another hour to actually vomit my disgust on what I saw. It almost made me use language that is not becoming of my office. My profoundest disgust and outrage was provoked by several components of that. One is the ridiculous disgust in the face of that officer. Evidently, one of the pictures that was popularized showed him looking straight into a camera, because somebody clearly was holding a camera in front of him, and he's staring down the camera, his hand in his pocket, and his knee on the neck of the man. To me, is defiance of the human race. Number one. Number two is the amount of officers who were there that stood by and did absolutely nothing. Even now I speak to it, I still feel the same disgust in my soul to just see all of these guys are standing by and look at this officer take the life of another man, right? Number three, I want to know what is happening in our community, because there are more of us than they.
Right.
And why is it an entire community was standing by and didn't rush these officers and teach them a public lesson? I am one of those people who believe that you have the right to defend your life even from a rogue officer. And so it shows the fear that has been in our community of the police. I really believe that if you have 1,000 people, 500, 100 people standing by and watch, something has happened to our sense of civility. You see? And so I can't begin to tell you. It breaks me to tears. I get angry. I stoops at my TV. Sometimes I want to slap it. And when I see the nonsense that is happening, so I am profoundly upset and angry at what, and it just keeps happening. It just keeps happening. And the level of outrage that needs to exist in some corners of our community about this, it seems like some people is just like one of those things, you know what I mean? But clearly, holiness in the Bible, when we talk about holiness, and God is holy and we all live holy, the holiness is to see things the way God sees them. It's not like, well, I don't commit fornication, I don't commit adultery, I don't steal, and so on. But it's to see it with the eye of God and see his disgust and how God views wrongdoing. We got to see it through that eye. Otherwise, you're not holy. You might think you are, but you might say, well, I didn't pay for anything, and I didn't do this, and I didn't break the law by speeding too much. But if you are not seeing it, so I don't do it, well, I don't care who does it. See what I'm saying? But you got to have outrage. The presence of outrage is holy.
Yeah. And, something came across my timeline today. And someone said that the George Floyd and the police situation, although they see it as an isolated incident, and it's not to do with police versus black and white, but it has to do with power, the powerful versus the not so powerful. Do you see it like that, or you just see it as a black and white issue? Because there were one officer in the midst of the four that were a black man.
I still feel that the root of this whole thing is race. It's race. I mean, and racism has created a structure of power, but at the root of it, I mean, you just think about, you look at Cory Booker on the floor, Senator Cory Booker on the floor of the Senate to get this anti-lynching bill passed. And how even there you have somebody like Ron Paul that would be opposing an anti-lynching law. How on God's earth does that happen? I'm saying that at the root of systemic racism, at the root of where power lies, is this. I mean, I look at the president. I say to folk, listen, our president is a racist. Now, people don't like to hear this, and people don't like to. I got colleagues that they get outraged when I say the president is a racist. And, you see this, like when he said certain things on the campaign trail. During the time of the elections, when he was being elected, there was about 100 pastors were called to meet him. So they called me up and they said, Dr. Bondi, we want you to come and meet the president and listen to what he's saying. And I told him, I'm not interested. Let me tell you why. Because what I've heard him say on the campaign trail is sufficient for me to judge him. Okay? And if he does not say what he said when he was on the campaign trail in private, he's lying. So in the campaign trail, he would make statements like, we got to take America back. I asked the question, from whom? One. And two, to whom does America belong? See, these are subliminal issues, right? We have to take America back. Then who are the forgotten men of America? Who are you talking about? In the old days, when a black man was found protesting, he said, in the old days, that couldn't happen. Why? They would pick him up and lynch him. You see? And so these were the subliminal things that were going on there, and people were defending it. And so it is when a man like that gets in power, you notice what he gathered around him was a company of aged men, most of whom had racist issues in their lives. You follow what I'm saying? So the seat of power, the halls of power and politics is structured from a racist standpoint, and that is why it's so difficult to get the correct bills passed. You see? So that's my position on that.
Tiffany, tell me about the reaction of the people in Texas, seeing that they had just months ago, about a year ago or so, they had to go through the same thing with Botham Jean. Now this, how is people in Texas reacting to all of this?
I'm sorry, I cannot hear you. Everything is, I can't hear. I couldn't hear the question.
Oh, okay.
Everything's choppy.
You're not hearing me at all?
I hear you, but everything's choppy, so I can't understand your question.
Oh, okay, tell you what, Tiffany, go back out and come back in, and that should clear the problem.
Okay.
All right. Okay. All right. Yeah. Pastor Balani, as we try to reconnect with Tiffany, there, guys, you're watching Ridealong Live, and we're having this discussion on the situation involving George Floyd and what happened and the reaction thereafter. Now, Pastor, are you surprised that after this, the kind of support that this situation have gotten? I mean, it's a worldwide movement right now.
Well, it's kind of funny, but I thought about this, that the pandemic, right, is as if the Lord placed the entire world on pause.
Right. And
put the world seated in a theater to watch police brutality and the disdain that these people have for people of color. So had it not been that we were all seated at home and people were busy in the trains, their buses and all that, maybe it might not have had the impact on the movement. But the fact that we were all home is as if God staged it to give the world a view of what is really happening. And so that, I think, sort of kind of accentuated the thing. And so it does also show so many people in our community are of good heart and good conscience still. And I think that's why we're seeing this more. Tiffany is back, so I think you're going to
get. Tiffany, are you hearing me now? Tiffany, are you able to hear me?
I heard. I hear you. I hear you.
Okay, the question is how are people in Texas reacting to this whole George Floyd situation, knowing that just about a year ago they had their own situation with Botham Jean?
I don't know. I didn't hear the entire question. I'm
All right,
sorry.
how are people in
I heard you
Texas
say, what are
reacting
people in?
to this recent situation?
So people in Texas are greatly affected by this recent situation. We've had protests every day since this has occurred. There have been instances of police brutality here with the protesters. We've had city council meetings since this incident occurred. There have been demands to defund the police department. Um, there's been just outrage over the culture of police brutality in America, and so the citizens all over in all 50 states are they're all 51 set up with the culture of police brutality and murder, which allows, a police officer to take your life under qualified immunity. So we had one city, I believe that was Minnesota, that was getting rid of qualified immunity, which qualified immunity, of course, means that an officer can take your life and not be charged for it, not have to go to court for it. And so everybody is seeing the inconsistencies. The blue line, the thin blue line, that line has to be broken. And I'd like to address another thing. People keep saying we need to defund the police, but actually, the entire system needs to be dismantled because it was built on white supremacy. And if you take one portion of the system out, we just have other injustices to fight, right? You've only removed one section and one portion. So the truth of the matter is that the entire foundation needs to be destroyed and rebuilt by, right? Because really America doesn't belong to anyone. America was stolen, and the original people that it belongs to have been shoved onto reservations and told what they can and cannot do. They've been given a curfew. They are the original Indians, Aboriginal Indians that were here. So, no one has ownership of America. And so, this idea that, pilgrims, they came over here and they established, a new nation, they didn't discover America. It was already discovered by the Indians. So here's the thing, like we need to come to grips with the history of America, with the history of this continent. And we can only do that, through change and with the people. And so you have a lot of people complaining about protesters and looters, but I've never heard of a revolution that or a change that without protesting, looting, and without death. I'm sorry, it's going to happen because Caucasians are not going to give up. They're not going to give up their power. They're not going to give up. You're going to have to fight them for it, right? And so I think in the past, what has been the problem is that we're afraid to fight. And we are afraid to fight because to die. And to die because we've been told to be afraid to die, right? And so there are layers of this thing that have to be peeled away at. And, we can't go along the traditional route of, God rest his son, Martin Luther King, marching for peace. Can't do that because these people are not trying to be peaceful with us. They kneeled on this man's neck. They closed off his airway, his passageway. He could not breathe. He begged for his life, right? He was somebody's son. He called on his mother who had been dead for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so when we look at all of these facts, and we have children and grandchildren, uncles and aunts that that are being, they have to work and they're sent out into daily life and they interact with law enforcement, then we're all in danger. And that is just a matter of fact. It is a fact that we have to deal with. We have to talk to our children about. And I am on the side of the looter. I am on the side of the
Okay.
protester. I am on the side.
Not sure if anyone could hear. If anyone could hear, it seems like we're having some kind of technical difficulty. I'm not sure what's happening on Junior hosts. I know what's happening on his end, but I would suspect that he's working on it and he would be right back. Not sure if anyone can hear.
All right. I'm back. Hope you guys didn't miss me too much. So here's what happened. I lost all internet at my broadcasting. You guys can hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Okay, all right. Sorry about that,
Yeah.
guys. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I just lost all internet. Like it was a complete shutdown. I don't know if it's in my area or in my house. Everything just went, and then it just came back on. So, right. So I was texting you, Pastor, to tell you just keep it going for me still.
Oh, I didn't.
Until I come back. All right. So I don't know where I left off. I don't know where I left off, Tiffany. If you could continue, because I forgot where what you were saying your last when I got shut off. Tiffany, you there?
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Pastor, let's. I'm trying to figure out where we left off so we could continue from there. I know Tiffany was speaking. Tiffany, are you there? Are you able to hear me again?
I hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. So what I want to find out, Tiffany, if you could start back from there. The last time, okay, we lost connection again. The last time we had something like that in Texas, right? We had a situation where it was the same police force and the killing a young lady in the officer killing of a young unarmed black man. Has anything changed from Botham Jean to now in terms of reforming the police force?
Can you ask that again? I didn't hear anything.
Has there been any reform after Botham Jean in Texas that we reported on for months? Has anything changed in terms of reform in the police force?
It's very choppy.
Okay, all right,
I
all
can't
right.
understand what you're saying.
Let's see if we could reconnect. Pastor, let's come to you. Do you think that the protest that is happening right now, do you think that it would change, it would make any systemic change going forward as it relates to policing in America?
Well, I think to some degree we're going to see some changes, right? And I think largely because there is a significant white presence that is involved in the process, unfortunately. I mean, that it would take that for the authorities to begin to pay attention. And sometimes there's a smart move. You do some things without really dealing with some of the more critical underlying issues, right? But you will see some of that. But I think even if it does not, it will signal to the population, and this is what is dangerous, what does not work. Therefore, the next time it will get worse in terms of the public outcry. Because if you have this amount of outrage, public outcry, violence, looting and all of that, and if this does not make a change, it says to the public, the next time you can't do this. And so we got to do something that is a lot more intense. Let me say that I agree with Tiffany in in what she was saying. I am on the side of the protesters. And again, I might not come over as the conventional kind of ministerial, praise the Lord, hallelujah, guy with a chain around his neck and cross. I do not agree with nonviolent protests. I'll tell you why. It really doesn't change anything. And by the time you get some results, it's a massive cost of human life and degradation. I mean, you see them using holes on our people back in the early days, and dogs would maul some of our people. They shoot them up, throw them in jail. Some of these cops will abuse them in the public domain. I believe, I mean, I look, for example, in India, when the Indians were fighting, if you look at like Gandhi, the movie, you see how these people protested. They'll walk up and have their heads burst open, and they're beat up, they're thrown aside. Then another batch of non-violent protesters would come up. And they, in India at the time, had more people than the British soldiers that were there. Look, I think there is a point when violence becomes righteous. I know a lot of people don't want to say this, and we want to dance around the issues. But how many of us are going to die before somebody does something about this? Let me say this too. That which is legal is not always moral.
Right.
Okay.
Sure.
And therefore, you may have a law that allows you to do this, but it is still wrong. And the community has a right to have you judged in the court of public opinion and have this matter dealt with at the full extent of the corporate conscience of people. I believe that's when they're going to stop. Because I can't ask you to give me justice. When I ask you, then justice belongs to you. Justice is not yours to give me, it's mine to take. And I think that's the level of response, I believe, that will create a different level of respect for the public. You see? So, you know, that I know that's unpopular, but that's what I think.
No, and you're right. Tiffany, I don't know if you're hearing me now, but I was asking you as it relates to the reform that has happened from Botham Jean to George Floyd. Have you seen any changes back then with the Botham Jean case and now in the police force? All right, Tiffany is having a hard time hearing us.
Can't hear you.
Okay, Tiffany, you probably want to try that again. If you could call out and come back in. I don't know why you're having problems hearing me, but I really want to get your view on it because I know you're very, very active in Texas right there as it relates to human rights issues. So if you could just log out and come back in, Tiffany, because I really want your point of view on this topic right here. I know that's the second time that we're having you do that, but if you could do that for us, it will help out the connection. Someone said something here. Mo Franklin says that there are some current changes happening now in New York City. They are redirecting some of the NYPD police budget to the community through education and mental health. Now, I don't know if that is the right thing, Pastor. Hear me out on this. I think defunding the NYPD or defunding any police department is a knee-jerk reaction. And just say, for instance, if there is a, God forbid there is not, a terrorist attack in Manhattan or anywhere else for that matter, you would want law enforcement to take the fall on this. You would want law enforcement to be there, be present, be there in numbers. And when you say defunding the police, does that mean that when something happens, if someone comes into your house to steal your things, and they're not going to be sufficient police officers or sufficient police resources to respond to a situation like that? Does defunding the police make sense in a time like this, or is it just a knee-jerk reaction?
You know, I really wish we had Tiffany in here, because she's been saying some things, and I noticed the comments. People are wanting her to talk on some of the comments that she was making there. But I kind of feel that way. I know that there are really great police officers out there. There's some that have been amazingly courteous to me, and I know to others. And I know there's a valid reason for them being in the community. And so if defunding them takes money away from their ability to protect and to serve, which is the original mandate, to protect and to serve, if our taking funding away does that, then I think we could have a different problem.
Yes.
You know, and because there are rogue players outside of the police force that would be glad to have an environment to exact harm and hurt on our institutions, our businesses, and so on. You know, I had one gentleman in my church one time. He ran a sneaker store, and one day these guys walked off the street and demanded that he pay them some kind of money for protection, and he didn't need protection, but now he had to pay these guys. And they were threatening to kill him if he does not pay. And he was closing up his business that day. And they came once, they came twice. Finally, the guy closed up his business, left everything in there, never went back to his business again. Now, what do you do in a situation like that? You see what I'm saying? You got to have some kind of presence in the community to respond to those kinds of things, right? Mm-hmm. But it is clear that we have to have the necessary checks and balances in the system. You know, this situation is definitely untenable. Here's some things I think about, Junior. One, I think a lot of these police departments, like in the community, they should have some supervision from citizens, people in the community.
Right. So
that there is a weekly or monthly review of these guys in which you look at them. And so it's not just the internal system that's judging what should happen to these guys, but they're hired and fired from local community boards and so on, right? The city could train them, but we hold them accountable. I think that's one change that we need to have. And then we need to also balance out who polices our community. I see there's a lot of white brothers and sisters who come from out in Long Island or maybe Jersey or something, and they walk through our neighborhoods without love or respect for the community. And so that's one of the reasons they misbehave. And there is this huge disparity as it appears between who polices our neighborhoods, and we don't go into their neighborhoods and police their neighborhoods. You see what I'm saying? So I think that's one of the things that we need to see. And they need to put a freeze on hiring white police officers and try to balance out the presence in the force of other people of color, so that there's a stronger people of color presence in the police system. You see what I'm saying? Like most of the times I get pulled over in my white car. Yeah. One night I'm driving in Brooklyn. I'm going to do a radio show, my wife and I. So I'm cruising, going up, I believe closer to Nostrand out there. And this officer pulls me over And the guy starts bashing me for no reason. You're drunk. You're driving slow because you're drunk.
Wow.
I chuckled and I said, sir, I'm a preacher. I really do that. And I hate alcohol. Do you think it's funny? Do you think it's funny? Get out of the car. This was the guy's attitude. Get out of the car. Now I'm seeing the other officer on the other side, and I saw the disgust in his face. He dropped his head and he turned away, and he's annoyed at what this other officer is doing. There was no reason for it. Got me out of the car and had me in the back of the car. I don't know what he was trying to do out of the vision of my wife, but and wants me to stand on one feet and trying to agitate me to get a response so he could probably get violent. You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
And these are the things that happen almost every day in our community. So we have a lot of white police officers policing a black neighborhood with preconceived ideas and emotions and so on about our people. And so it's hard for them to treat you with equality and justice and fairness.
So instead of defunding, instead of talking about defunding the police force, how about providing more sensitivity training for the police officers? So, or better way of policing, as you said, because Mo said there again, defunding the police officer, defunding taking money from buying too much ammunition, they do not need. But come on, if there is a major attack, I mean, you want full police in force. You want law enforcement there. Somebody coming to your house, you don't want to call and you can't get a police officer. You want it there now. So I think the idea of defunding the NYPD or defunding any police department, it might not be the right move. Because I remember right after 9/11, when 9/11 happened, everybody went out in the numbers to join the army because they wanted to build the numbers. So that was a reaction, right? So that's a negative reaction now. And if something happened, everybody will be like, we need more police. We need more police. So by providing sensitivity training, I think that makes sense. Provide sensitivity training and teach these people who are supposed to protect and serve to actually protect and serve, and let them understand the community that they work in. Because a black brother that would arrest you, if he was a black brother that understand the situation, that understand the community, that understand your culture, I think that they were less likely to look at another brother and put a gun to his chest and pull the trigger. Knowing that that person looked just like you, knowing that that person share history just like you. First, the person will try to understand what is happening if they understand the culture. So I think the funding, to me, I don't think it makes sense at this point. I think more sensitivity training into the police force might be the way forward.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
And you know, Junior, I mean, look, the Bible says, because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, the hearts of men are fully set to do evil. Let me share that again. Because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, the hearts of men are fully set to do evil. Part of the problem that creates a repetition of this kind of behavior is because they're not held accountable.
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying? If an officer, right, if an officer commits murder, he should, where possible, have the death penalty. And if he's found guilty by due process of law, he is supposed to be held accountable and be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. If that happens repeatedly, it will provide for us a context for these guys to behave themselves. And also, I think we need to educate the public, because what value is there in self-defense? What value is there in my right to bear arms that I cannot use my arms in defense of me and my sons and my daughters? I think that the public needs to make this abundantly clear. When we see stuff like this, by the way, even if this guy had in fact committed a crime, the police does not have the right to administer justice.
True.
There is a system in place for that. And I think that the conversation we need to have is, what role does the public have? I feel if that officer had lost his left leg, then we won't be having this conversation. A lot of these guys would behave themselves. Yeah. You cannot have this being done with that level of disdain What authority is in the back of your head that in the face of cameras running, people screaming, and you still would not stop? It means the public must have the right to act. That's what I advocate. Because listen, I know these guys carry the guns, but there's more people in the public. And I'm saying that we cannot. I mean, I look at Eric Gardner, and this officer comes, holds the guy, chokes the guy. You know, they shot this guy up. Now, those same two officers are working at a Amadou Diallo.
Yeah, Amadou Diallo. They shot him 41 times.
Yes, and those officers are now working at as firefighters.
Oh.
Now what's this? Yes. So what are we doing here? I think the right to bear arms is not to protect my house from a thief, but I should have the right to protect myself from a rogue, lawless officer. You can't tell me that if this guy, can you imagine I walk into my house and I see an officer doing that to my son? Could you imagine I walk out of my house? I detest the day that happens to me. And this is the outrage that I have about this. I'm saying we have to have the conversation in the public. What right does the public have to stop a rogue officer? If we have that conversation, whether they have money or not, I guarantee you these guys will behave themselves.
Yeah, but it has to do a lot too, Pastor. I think it has to do a lot with the fact that blue line of silence where police officers don't squeal on other police officers. Imagine this guy, he had 19 previous situations like that in the past. 19, so on. They knew about it. I'm sure that the mayor knew about it. Everyone knew about it.
And Junior, you know the Asian officer who was there, he has a track record too.
Yeah. But here is the other twist of it that I read. Two of the other officers, it was only their 4th day on the job. So was it like recruitment or training, or this is how you do this? So they come in fresh, green, and they're seeing this. So they're adapting to the culture of the police force. Because think about it. This police officer just killed an unarmed black man and left and went in the car. Could you imagine the conversation that he had on the way out? Like, what could he possibly could have been saying in the car? Like, yo, yeah, we just killed that one.
With racial slurs, by the way.
Yeah. So I don't quite understand. And I think sensitivity training is one. I think officers need to undergo a longer, strenuous training procedure. It is not a lot of man hours to become a police officer. And in the reform, instead of defunding, I think better training, better social skills, more community minded. I think we focus on the community and have police in our community who looks like us, who could interact with us, who understands us.
But Junior, let me tell you why my position, I hold a strong position like the one I do, is this. Racism is a matter of the heart. Law is important, but a law does not change the heart of a man. And so when we could pass all the laws, we've come a long way with laws,
right?
But we don't change the heart. And one of the is what the Bible says again. One wise man says, I rather go to the house of mourning than to the house of laughter. For by sadness of the countenance, the heart is made better. Until a man begins to be confronted with the error of his ways, his heart is not challenged. They move him out, they put him somewhere to pay him. They remove them from the desk, they go home with full pay. They suspend them with pay. You see what I'm saying? They go to a court of law, a grand jury release these guys. They go free all the time. What consequence is there that tells these guys you will pay for that behavior? And if we don't have consequences for that kind of behavior, these guys keep doing the same thing over and over and over.
Yeah, and that is the fact. The culture of policing needs to change. And with the uproar, I've seen protests in Australia, Switzerland. I've seen protests in London. I know, Pastor, you have to go now. Tiffany, you're a busy man. We have to take the time. We have to take a little time whenever we get it. But hopefully that after all of this, we do have some permanent changes around the world as it relates to policing. Some permanent change, and this is not just going to be, okay, a protest for a couple of weeks and everybody go back to the regular normal. There have to be a new normal in policing after this is said and done on the other side. And I'm doing whatever we can, but also there's people, even people like our own skin, like we had Miss Candace Owen. I don't know if you saw the video with Candace Owen, and she's speaking out about the same thing that we see happening all the time. Whenever a black brother get killed, they always itemize everything that he did. He smoked a weed when he was 10. They itemize every single crime to miniaturize the fact that he was a bad person or he did something bad in his past. So
he deserved to die.
He deserved to die, and that is a major problem. It's been happening. I'm hearing it. I'm seeing videos of this type of behaviors by our own black people. So I think the unified voice have to be: we're standing firm, we're standing strong. I don't particularly support the looting. I support the protests. I stand strong with the protesters. I don't support the looting. And I like the fact that we have so many engagement of other cultures, not only black people, involved in the conversation. Hopefully we'll have some changes at the other side of this in the new normal.
Yeah. Well, look, Junior, I don't like the looting thing either. But you know what bothers me is that some people seem to be more concerned about glass breaking and shattering than a man dying.
True.
And sometimes you see that kind of a man comes up on TV. He doesn't even mention a man was murdered, which is a long part of our history. But they start bashing the whole idea of businesses. One guy said business was important too. I mean, wrong time.
And somebody said, what are we gaining from the protesting? What are we gaining from it? But it's the same thing. What are they gaining from going and fight wars? When 9/11, they didn't bring back the 13 or 14 or 2,400 people that died, but they still went in anyway, right? So sometimes you need to take strong measures. I stand with the protesters. I stand firmly with the protesters. That protesting, there was one in Grenada today. There's all over the Caribbean, in Jamaica. I don't know if they have one in St. Vincent. There's in England. There is in Australia. All over. It's a worldwide movement, and it's bigger than George Floyd.
Yes,
it's much bigger than George Floyd.
Yes.
People are upset, and they're saying enough is enough. Enough is enough. Pastor, I know that's as far as we could go because I know you have another engagement coming up. But we thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate every second of your contribution towards this topic right here. Any last word you want to leave with, sir?
No, hey, let's continue to love one another with a love that is pure and true. Let's find a way to support our businesses, to support people like yourself on the front line, and make sure that we build a sense of family and unity in our community. When church is open, take one day in the week to be in God's house so that our hearts are tempered and touched by God's presence, and that he could truly inhabit our community and bless our nation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you, Pastor.
Bonandi.
Again, you can check out Pastor Bonandi in the morning on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I think, right here on Ridealong Live. You can check out Pastor Bonandi. Guys, listen, again, we as a people, right? As a people, we need to come together. Yeah, we need to come together as a people, need to unify. Some people, I ain't gonna say everybody, some people they just don't like to be a part of anything positive, right? They prefer to be a part of negativity. They want to be a part of the fighting. They want to be a part of the problem. Let us see how we could be a part of something different, the solution. Now, I don't have the antidote to the solution. We have some ideas. We spit some ideas sometimes of things that possibly could be implemented, but there is no monopoly on good ideas, right? But here's one thing I think that we all need to be guided by. As a people, we need to see how we could come together. We need to come together. That all that infighting and all this separation and all this fire tossing and all of this, not necessary. I think that our resources are already limited. We are already a minority group of people, and we make ourselves even smaller when we fight amongst ourselves. This is a global call, right? We need to come together and let's put all our resources together, all our ideas together. Hence the reason why, we really implemented programs like Dr. Z in the morning, where, it inspired people, it inspired everyone under a spiritual, a spiritual and focus day and having a focus day. I get up every morning and the first thing I post about is it's a beautiful day. Life is so amazing. Let us come together under oneness, right? As a people. Stop the infighting. Stop the fighting, guys. And I thank you guys for the support. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of our programming today and always. Sorry we had some problem with Tiffany on her connection. Hopefully we'll get Tiffany back on again soon, where she could talk about more of her plans and what's happening there in Texas as it relates to the George Floyd. But anyway, guys, the protests are still going on. I'm looking for something right here. Yeah, the protests are still going on. We saw some footage of protests happening in Grenada today, in front of the U.S. Embassy there. I even heard of something happening in Jamaica, all around the Caribbean, all around the world. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for being a part of our program. Catch you guys again tomorrow. Peace out, guys. Bye-bye.
Hey, did you know that the census is due this year on April 1st? And guess what? This time we can finally count as Caribbean. This year, all you have to do is 1. Check the race box, and 2. Write in your country of birth or ancestry. You can answer by the paper form, online, or by phone. Everybody counts in Census 2020. So count as Caribbean. Yes, we count.